Guys, I've made it no secret that I'm not a big fan of Tontos anymore. For a time I was, but we're going to look at what I think is the best Americanized style Tonto, and it's American made. Let's turn us around and look at the Chris Reeves Sebenza Tonto.
So you guys saw the title, and I think you guys knew there was going to be a review of this when I did the sharpening. This is the Sebenza Tonto, and not just a regular Sebenza Tonto. This is the small Sebenza 21 Tonto, which is, I mean, the Sebenza Tontos are fairly hard to find anywhere. And the smaller ones are even more so. Let's get this out here. I wanted to show you a quick size comparison so you know how much smaller they are. This is coming in at about 8.5 inches. And these are coming in just at about 7 inches. So you're looking at about an 1.5 inch overall size difference, almost 2 inches. So let's get this out of the way and start talking about this. These things were really cool. I liked the small Sebenzas. I don't like them as much as the large. I almost bought a small Sebenza because what you get is all the things that you love about the Sebenza just in a little bit smaller package. And they are a very nice compact package, but that's not 100% what we're talking about. I wanted to talk about the fact that this is probably, not probably, in my opinion, this is the best Americanized Tonto you're going to find. There's a lot of companies that do Tontos. Some people disagree with me. Cold Steel really popularized the Americanized Tonto, which is definitely different than a true Tonto. But these are done so incredibly well. I love how the edge transitions, and they get stupid sharp. Now, these ones are a full hollow all the way up, and you can see that in the Tonto grind up here, the forward edge on this. You can see how this hollow transitions all the way up. There is no flat, and they just accomplish that by grinding that down to a full angle. So what you lose on this is there's no distal taper. It's a lot like the Wii 601. Hang on a second, I'll grab that. Which you can see on this has a very similar edge profile, as you can see there. See how that comes up? Now, that lack of a distal taper is just they basically thinned the tip by removing that material. It's the same thing they did here. So let's get this out of the way and look at the quick difference. So as you can see on the actual Sebenza, that distal taper starts here where the edge comes up and it maintains that and it thins that down to a tip, which these are really good. But what you've got here is a very robust blade. It's going to be hard to snap that tip off. On this, you could knock the entire tip off of this knife. On this, the only thing you're going to really damage is probably just the very tip that you can reestablish and fix through sharpening. So very robust blade on that. And that allows you a piercing knife. So you can pierce into things without near the fear of breaking that knife off if you happen to do that. The other thing too is on these Americanized Tontos, if they're done well, there is a secondary point here that in use, like a snap cut or something like that, breaks the surface tension of the material. And you've heard Lynn Thompson talk about that in his videos where he talks about knife fighting and snap cut. And that is definitely going to be a much more devastating cut if you happen to be using this in that fashion. These are done in a full hollow. They're done beautifully. Now, there's a couple little downsides to the Americanized Tonto that still is prevalent in this knife, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the Sebenzas have always been incredibly made knives, and this is no different. This is just a really cool variant of their knife. All the hardware is the same size. You can use the same Allen key on this. If you happen to get this screw mixed up with this one, it doesn't matter. The internals on these screws are the same. The only thing that is different is there is a sleeve on the outside of this. There's a sleeve on the outside of this, and then there's pivot stuff in here. The knives are done incredibly well. The action on them is great. You're never going to have a Sebenza fail. I've never seen anyone complain really about a Sebenza failing unless they bought it on the secondary market and somebody had screwed something up on it. One of the best pocket clips in the business is on the Sebenza series of knives. It is really comfortable, really functional, sits in the pocket nice and clean. The newer ones have a different angle, so it's not sitting on the lock bar like this. So both of the ones that we have out here, mine and his, are older versions. But yeah, you just can't go wrong with a Sebenza Tonto. They are about the best. Now, there are some downsides to the Americanized Tonto. We'll talk about that right after you guys hear from this video sponsor.
Big shout out to Dahlstrongs for sponsoring this video. I've been using this 8-inch Gladiator Series chef's knife for well over a year now, and I gotta say, I love it. You're getting a lot for your money when you go with Dahlstrong. There's a link down below. You can check them out. They have a huge variety. You can see some of it scrolling up here on the screen. They have a huge variety of knives, different price points, different materials, things that are going to meet your decor if that's what you're into. So don't forget to check them out. They've been really cool to sponsor this video. They've been a good partner for the channel for a while. Check them out. Now let's turn this around and get back to the video.
There are some limitations to this blade style. And one of the big ones is they are really kind of difficult to sharpen because you've got to, for this to work the way you want, those two edges have got to marry up exactly at that one point, which makes some difficulty in sharpening. Now, you can teach yourself how to do this if you just get some cheaper knives and then kind of, you know, just teach yourself and practice on some cheaper knives that you're not going to ruin. But you do have to make sure that those marry up, or that's not going to work well, and it's going to have a weird spot here. The other thing, these have a tendency to get used, and then when you're using them, as you're cutting, the most pressure you're going to get on the blade anywhere is going to be at that very tip. And so that very tip has a tendency, that point right there, that secondary point, has a tendency to get knocked over and rounded. And when you're just trying to touch it up, if you don't do a full sharpening, using a ceramic rod, you have a tendency to get past the point, and then you knock the sharp point off of that and you round it over, and then you have to try and reestablish it through sharpening. The other thing too is, they're not as good for some of the more fine detail work that you can do with this. Like, you can get up on this and work around things. They have a tendency to be aggressive, especially if it's something you're not wanting to completely just scream through. When you get up on this and you're doing that, that point is aggressive, and sometimes it will just punch through farther than you want it to. So they're not as good for some of the fine detail work. But like I said, if I had to pick a knife that I said just is the best Tanto, best Americanized style Tanto on the market, it's going to be the Chris Reeve ones. This would be the only one I would actively go out and purchase at this point. So is it a yup or a nah? It's definitely a yup. I love these. You can't go wrong with one. The small 21s are amazing. If you can find one, they're a good grab because they're harder to find than the regular Sebenzas, which are already, you know, they're in high demand. So there you go, guys. Let's turn this around, do some final thoughts, and send you out about your day.
There you go, guys. Like I said, I would not typically set out to buy a Tanto. If I had the money, I would absolutely buy one of these. These are gorgeously done. They're great knives. You get the same quality and support that you're getting in a regular Sebenza, just in a different platform. This is, I think, the rarest of the Sebenzas, unless you're talking about some of the inlaid. The Tantos are hard to find. The smalls are hard to find. The small Tantos, very hard to find. You don't see them around very often. So, well, that's it on this one, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I do like having this knife here. I've got to do a little bit of work on the washers before I send it back to my buddy Jesse. So you may see how to polish the washers on a Sebenza coming up in a future video. Guys, if you want to support the channel, tons of ways you can do it. I know that I threw an ad in here for one of my 3 sponsors. Go visit those sponsors. Their links are down below. A couple of them have discounts built in, Coffee Brand Coffee and Tempered Trail. They also have coupon codes. You can use a coupon code Crazy Sharp, all one word, at checkout. It works the same way. You can also use that coupon code at Rosecraft Blades and FireandForgeKnifeWorks.com. I've got affiliate links down below for a bunch of different knife vendors. Knife Ship Free, Blade HQ, GP Knives, Artisan Cutlery, Vosteed. There's a couple others down there. There's also some other affiliate links down there for other things that aren't necessarily knife related. Check them out. I have an Amazon store. You can use that to do any of your Amazon shopping. It doesn't cost you anything. Just take that link, pin it to your browser, use that as your portal into Amazon. And I've built links of recommended stuff. I also have got a membership. It's all tier-based. Pick what works for you, but everyone has access to my private Discord. Everyone gets exclusive videos. I do giveaways for baseline and premium guys, and the premium guys have access to a sharpening tutorial series. So the other thing is I have built a community Discord that everyone has access to. It's also a lot of fun. There's only 12 people there right now. I'd like to build that up. Please start hanging out there, get to know each other. Guys, that's it on this one. I love you all. Keep it clean in the comment section. If it's your birthday, happy birthday, and I'll see you in the next video.